don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like I'm always on my way to a certain location all the time. Walking on a certain road, watching the scenery in a certain car, listening to the music on a certain MRT, and zoning out on a certain plane. It seems that one's life has to be on the way to somewhere to be that dedicated and serious. So we ignore our mental health, our mood, and our body. Ignore the life you do not fit in, ignore to rest when you definitely need some. Maybe it is that we don't have enough courage to stop and think about what we really want. Fear of being overtaken by others if you stop. Fear of stopping and stagnant. Fear that losing your previous efforts. Fear of catching up with time and getting older. Speaking of bravery, I wonder if you are brave. At least for me, I've never been. When I was a child, I often imagined myself living like an anime character. Passionate, optimistic, full of energy, and never gives up. They seem to have the courage to fight no matter what happens. But in fact, I'm timid and afraid of strangers. Always habitually hide and see the world behind others' back. Afraid to take initiative step to take whatever I desire, but I often regret those hesitant actions. Like to stay in the comfort zone, like to stay at home, like my own universe, like to live in a consistent life. When facing things I haven't tried, I'm always the one who rejects at the very first time. I'm anxious every time I go to a new place, caring too much about others' opinion and always worried about whether I am good enough, because I don't want to be hated by the society. So when the society says, you're too fat, you shouldn't wear makeup, you should be like everyone, I choose to consistently change myself and tell myself that you're not good enough, not good enough, not enough. The dissatisfaction with myself is often based on the values of others. Gradually, you hate the society that can't be satisfied. You hate yourself who desperately obeys the will of society. Hate your life being kidnapped. Hate the reality that you can't change. You hate yourself. When it comes to dreams, I think I'm the master of it. In order to live in my imaginary life, I forced myself to grow up when I shouldn't, and started a life in the United States. Dream of playing golf, I hope to make my family proud. Dream of moving forward without obstacles. Dream that one day I can achieve the ideal world. Isn't it funny? Nothing has been achieved since. I stumbled on a road called dream, but always get further away from the destination. Studying abroad may be the bravest decision I've ever made in my life, but I deeply suffered from it. Afraid of loneliness, afraid of being in a foreign country, afraid of not being able to communicate with others, afraid of strange environment, afraid to not live up to the expectations of people who I care. I often cry alone, especially at night. I feel like a loneliness person in the world. At the same time, I'm very disappointed with this fragile version of myself. I often wondered if this was really the right choice. I don't know. Slowly, I lost my original ambition and impulses. Fear of failure, fear of not being worthy of expectations. I tried my best to do everything I can, but I always felt that it was not good enough. I feel hopeless and disappointed in myself. Feeling anxious about the future, fear to be worthless, afraid to stay in a comfort zone, but you are even more afraid to get out of touch with the world. Afraid that I'm used to staying in a corner, being afraid of your own failure. Scared that I don't have enough time to stay with my parents and elders. I'm afraid I won't have time to say goodbye to people who I love. So I began to cry alone on the plane when I left. I can't bear it. Fear that any decision you make will be wrong. I began to feel regret. I often feel that the decision of studying abroad is too impulsive and too immature at the very beginning. And I fell into a bottomless pit with too much expectations. I began to doubt whether everything was worth it, whether it was right, whether it was worthy of my family and myself. When I want to look back, it turns out that time has stolen too much memories, too much identities, and too much of me. Blame, regret, anger, despair, pain. I feel guilty for my family. I hate my incompetence, and I don't like this coward version of myself. Don't know what I'm good at, what I should do, whether I can respond to the expectations of my family, and whether I'm doing the right thing. Afraid of making the same mistakes. I'm afraid of the breathless future. I don't like myself. Hate the cowardice, hate the incompetence, hate their own self-abandonment, but there's no way out of this endless circle. I still remember writing in my diary, I live in hell as if I were living in darkness that I can't get out forever. It is so painful. Because living in a comparative society, live in a generation where you have to compete. You can't slow down, you can't stop even with injuries. Gradually, you feel so empty, so confused, and so hypocritical. Hate. I hate golf that used to be the whole of my life. I hate the one who cries and laughs because of this dream and traits for. I hate myself who runs away in frustration and is unwilling to obey the reality. Change, eager to be brave, eager to be no longer afraid. I want to be strong, want to belong to my true freedom. I want to be brave, I want to change. At least, I deserve to be brave for myself once. In 2022, I made a commitment to myself. May I always do what I'm afraid of. So I started to learn to change myself. Start doing what I thought was impossible before. Start to try triathlon. Start to try marathon and mountain climbing. Gradually fell in love with a new life, with the nature. Starting to like the version of myself in the mountains. Fell in love with the sunrise, which has been immersed in a lone darkness but can bring energy and hope to the world. Just like what I'm looking forward to myself. Grow in the dark and bloom in the sun. Don't give up in the face of setbacks. And be brave when you have to face it. Learn to enjoy the ups and downs of mountain climbing. Learn to enjoy the process step by step. Indulge in the movement of watching the sunrise. Learn to look at hard things from a different perspective. Fall in love with marathon and triathlon. Obsessed with the atmosphere that everyone is moving toward the same goal in their own way. Especially in 113 kilometers of triathlons. Bravely overcome the fear of open water in my own way. Start enjoying biking with a speed of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. Start enjoying the running distance I hated before, 21 kilometers. Maybe the life we're really looking for should be like this. Find your own way with different background stories, ideas, and thoughts to find your own way from life. A truly successful person should not be defined as a certain job, certain condition, a certain kind of personality. It's whether you are following your life and whether you tried your best. Different people, different processes, different experiences. But eventually you reach the same end because we are all walking our life at our own pace. So stop worrying about success or failure, achievements or promises. After all, everyone is in a parallel line. In the real final end, we will have to finish it by ourselves. What we should really ask is whether we have tried our best and have no regrets. And I believe that is enough. Many people ask me why I like sports so much. Does torturing yourself really makes you happy? I like sports is not just simply enjoy torturing myself. Whether it's triathlon or mountain climbing, I enjoy the calmness in the movement. Because that is a space belonging to the soul, and that soul belongs to me. Which is what life really means, isn't it? To find who you really are. Because of bravery, I finished the 130 kilometers triathlon, ran several marathons, climbed many mountains, tried many bravery movements, went to many places I haven't been to, and met many interesting people. I began to like the simple blue sky, sunshine, and air. Slowly fell in love with life. Begin to fall in love with the ordinary and extraordinary yourself. Began to learn how to face my own life issues. I began to feel that maybe living is not so tired. Maybe I'm not that bad. Maybe I deserve to be myself. Maybe I should get out of other people's expectations. Maybe I should follow my will. Bravery seems to have become the choice in my life, and I started to slowly fall in love with the world again. Whose life has never encountered setbacks, whose life has never been ambiguous. Life is not full of hope and positive energy all the time. Yet, not everyone has the courage to get out of obstacles. What about laziness? What about escapism? Give yourself some breathing space. As long as there's a glimmer of hope and courage, there's no absolute right or wrongs in life. Why should I punish myself with others' words? Why should I define myself because of others' opinions? Why should I erase my passion for golf because of these rights and wrongs? I'm brave enough to choose to believe in myself in the most difficult time. And I'm also brave enough to choose to face life when it is truly helpless. Brave to try, brave to change, brave to face. It is because of the endless darkness that I know how to cherish myself in the sun. I have the courage to dream since I was a child. I am also lucky enough to have a group of family and friends who are willing to dream with me. I often wonder what's wrong with me, why everything I did turns out really bad. Until I started triathlon and saw this phrase: fighting because you are not willing to be ordinary. You should not bury your dreams in reality. Maybe I know how to dream big. What I'm lacking is barely the process of the path. I cowardly choose to follow reality, but deep down I'm still dissatisfied with myself. So I'm angry, depressed, and anxious. I have the courage to execute. I have the courage to chase for my dream no matter what happens. And I have the courage to persist the dream and chase for. Perhaps I have already lived as an anime character in my life, that I am already living the way I wish. It's a pity that I missed the opportunity to accomplish my dream, but that doesn't mean I will surrender to reality and others' opinions. Having courage does not happen immediately. Because of the sports, I start to slowly accept stepping out of my comfort zone, start to try, explore, and find ways to overcome my own demons. Actually, it's not that bad. Once you break the preconceived thoughts, many things look brighter than before. It turns out that things are not as difficult as I thought, and situations were not as bad as the imaginations. Isn't that enough? At this beautiful age of 20, I want to do what I truly want to do. To bright myself with full of enthusiasm, to always be the child who is always fascinated by myself. Maybe the future is still as hazy, life is still as complicated, and thoughts are still as complex. I still want to believe in my own persistence. Learn to choose to love myself, learn to be brave.